try and get as many claims in before the new regime kicked in. So that was a cause and effect. The situation now is that the government is hell-bent on actually changing the way people access justice. They've already done that in quite a number of areas, but they're now going to increase the small claims limit for personal injury claims to £5,000. It's currently up to £1,000. And that will shift the majority of all personal injury claims, no matter where it comes from, into the small claims court. Now, for costs, and this is the important point, costs in the small claims court are so minuscule that law firms will look at it and, on the one side of the coin, they'll look at it and they'll say, well, we can't do this, and it's going to have a profound effect on the operation of the legal profession. But equally, on the other side of the coin, there is already rumblings that I've detected that people will be signed up to contingency agreements where they'll be asked to forego 40 up to 50% of their damages in order to seek a settlement before they even get into the court. And then they'll sign up to a no-win, no-fee, which will offer a similar scheme as well. So I think rather than curing the problem as the government sees it of compensation culture, they're actually going to increase it. You're going to see more and more PPI-style advertisements out there for personal injury, or sorts of claims about, we can help you through the small claims court process, when most of the time consumers can do it themselves. And it's only going to add fuel to the fire. I mean, it's a situation that's been ill thought out. The government is not intent on having any meaningful consultation about that with practitioners or with the legal profession, and have been engaged, as has been reported in the legal press, been engaged in roundtables with the insurance industry. And so at the end of the day, it will be the consumer who will suffer. It will be the consumer who will find themselves at the end of complex agreements, and they will be bombarded by further advertisements. There will be nothing cured by this. If anything, it will advance, in my view, towards a more American-style compensation culture type environment.
You can follow me on Twitter at holiday_hut. I'm talking travel consumer rights with Frank from Holiday Travel Watch this week. As you know, travel consumer rights is very important to me, has been since I got into travel. So it's a good match to have Holiday Travel Watch on the show. Airbnb is a company that's come up recently, and it's outside the traditional travel industry. So I wanted to know what Holiday Travel Watch felt about sharing sites such as Airbnb, and I was also interested to know if Frank had actually used it.
I haven't used it personally, no. I actually don't think there's anything new about this at all. If you like, it's the kind of Facebook for accommodation. And they've got some really good catchphrases, kind of #BelongAnywhere, and it's a global community, and, where you go should be a mystery and surprise. But, we've had accommodation only websites for a number of years, where people rent out their own properties, whether it's villas or apartments or flats or whatever it is. There's nothing new about this. The concept is about turning you as an ordinary person, turning your house to gain that extra income and sell it as a bed and breakfast, which is where you get B&B from. But I really don't think there's anything massively new about it. What is clever about it is the marketing. There's clearly been a heck of a lot of money ploughed into the marketing. The look and the feel of it looks young, it looks dynamic, it looks upwardly mobile. There's the occasional wrinkly photographed on the site, and it gives off the impression that it is family friendly.
Do you think the increase in this is good or bad for the industry in general and holiday makers in particular?
Well, that's a huge debate. There are plenty in the travel industry who feel that it's undercutting them. It's cutting out their role in some cases as middlemen or women, for that matter. Whereas there are those who say, oh, it's good for customer choice because customers are able to get out there and create their own travel product. I think my issue with that is that that's okay if you are a consumer who is used to putting together your own package holiday, because with accommodation there will come flights and there will come transfers and so on and so forth. And I don't think consumers recognize necessarily, even now, that if you are using sites like this, it's not just Airbnb, but other sites as well, that if something goes wrong, you are going to be limited in your rights to whatever it says in the contract. So I think there are kind of pluses and minuses for both sides of the debate.
When I was advising people about travel, I looked at a villa for somebody. It wasn't Airbnb, it was an equivalent site run by a very large company. And the customer liked it, so they asked me to investigate it more. I did more investigations. I said, don't book it. I don't like the way they respond to my questions. Just don't use it. And they said, well, I like the look of it. I'm going to book it anyway. Okay, but I recommend you don't. And a month before they were due to go, the booking got cancelled because the guy sold the villa and they were stranded with flights and nowhere to stay. So people do need to be aware of what they're doing and maybe sometimes listen.
I absolutely agree with you, John, because at least if you buy a connected product, a package holiday, call it what you will, you have that kind of protection that if one part fails, it may all fail, and you've got some protections there. But doing this on your own. I mean, I book package holidays and I book independent trips as well. But I've been doing that for years. I'm not an ordinary consumer, but I can see, the likes of Airbnb and other websites like that. There is a real pull, there's a real attraction there, but consumers need to think carefully. They need to ask themselves the simple question, if it goes wrong, what are my rights? And of course, that leads to the age-old problem of are you a consumer who just simply ticks the box that says, I've read the terms and conditions, or do you actually read the terms and conditions before you tick the box? And really, as a savvy consumer, an informed consumer, you should be the latter. You should read those terms and conditions before you tick the box. And then work out, actually, if you want to do independent travel, work out if you're actually happy to take the hit, because you will take the hit if something goes wrong. And you have to put it right, or you have to use whatever terms and conditions in each of your contracts are available to put whatever problems arise right, and you may have very little choice. Whereas, ironically, if you book a package holiday, you've got far more extensive rights than just simply what's in the contract. And so consumers need to become informed, become savvy, and make the decisions then that are comfortable for them.
Yeah, the biggest lie on the internet is, yes, I've read and understand the terms and conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to be so crass as to say that I haven't done it myself. Of course I have. But it is vitally important that you do read those terms and conditions. People are paying out. This last 12 months, we've been hearing and talking to people who've paid out, the best part of 8, 9, 10, 12, 15,000 pounds for a holiday. That's a major expense. If you're going to fork out that amount of money, you need to make sure that you understand and you have plotted a route as to how you can resolve problems as they arise. If you're going to buy a car, or if you were going to buy some big electrical product, you'd make sure you understood what the product was going to deliver to you, and you'd make sure you'd understand what your rights were if it were to go wrong. Why it should be any different with a holiday always mystifies me. So consumers, as I say, need to become informed, and they need to become savvy. Get stuck into those terms and conditions.
You can keep up to date with travel news and leave me a message at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. The Zika virus is big in the news at the moment. I remember it. To me, it seemed to be a slow burner because my inbox started to fill up with Foreign Commonwealth Office warnings about it. Then it took 4 or 5 days before it hit the mainstream. But in that gap, I was trying to get experts on to tell me about it, but nobody was interested. And of course, you couldn't watch telly without bumping into one after that. Do things like viruses, like Zika, do they have a massive effect on travel? Is it more of an effect than terrorism?
It's actually really interesting the way you've asked me the question, because it kind of begs the question, what really interests the media, and of course the terrible scenes that we see that result from terrorism, which has an immediate visual impact, is what sadly sells newspapers and creates content on 24/7 news channels. With the Zika virus, let's remember Zika is a pandemic, and it has had a profound effect on people who live in South America, Central America. But there is an underlying, I think the expression you've used there, John, slow burn, is absolutely spot on. There's an underlying number of issues here. For example, there is some suggestion, although I haven't seen it developed yet, that it could attack the nervous system. So, we've seen all the dire warnings about people who are pregnant or who are planning to become pregnant and take extra care to not travel to these zones or these areas. But I think there is a wider debate going on about the actual broader effect of Zika virus. And of course, the problem here is that it is believed now that with almost certainty that it's going to migrate into the southern United States and into the Caribbean. And I saw a suggestion the other day that there was a case in Cape Verde because the World Health Organization, doctors and scientists believe that it will migrate beyond the current borders. I suspect, again, that it'll be a case of, as time goes on and it becomes a much broader issue, that it will attract the media attention. But, it is already having an effect on destinations within, say, South America and Central America, Caribbean areas. We've had calls from consumers who are concerned about their exposure or potential exposure to the Zika virus, particularly young couples who were planning honeymoons and things like that to the Caribbean. It will have, sadly, I think, as it gets a grip through this summer season, it will have a similar effect on tourism to these destinations in the same way that terrorism does. These are two factors. Well, there's one factor that, we can, through various controls, through science, we can perhaps, through the World Health Organization, control it. The other issue is definitely a political issue. It needs, that in itself needs to have a resolution, an international resolution to deal with the causes and the effects of terrorism. But whilst we've got these two pressures on tourism, we're finding that most people are tending to book their holidays from the UK down through France, through the Iberian Peninsula down to the Canaries. And many countries and resorts either side of that zone